Hello friends, welcome back to day 4 of 30 inks in 30 days. Today's ink is Comet SL9 and I have paired it with my Pilot Metropolitan with a fine nib. Comet SL9, or Shoemaker-Levy 9, was the 9th periodic comet, periodic here meaning a comet whose orbital period is 200 years or less, was discovered by the Shoemakers and Levy on March 24th, 1993. When it was discovered, it had already been torn into more than 20 pieces, traveling around Jupiter in a 2-year orbit. Further study indicates that the comet, believed to still be a single body at the time, made a close approach to Jupiter in 1992, but was then torn apart by tidal forces due to Jupiter's powerful gravity. So it's thought that the comet had been orbiting Jupiter for a decade before its demise. So, for the first time in history, we were able to observe a collision between two bodies in the solar system. So it was really exciting. NASA's Galileo orbiter, which was still on its way to Jupiter at that time, captured direct views as the fragments smashed into Jupiter's cloud tops. They started hitting the clouds on July 16th, 1994. And ended July 22nd, 1994. The fragments collided into the planet with the force of 300 million atomic bombs. Mind-blowing. And they created huge plumes 1,200 to 1,900 miles high, or 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers high, and heated the atmosphere to temps as hot as 53,000 to 71,000 degrees Fahrenheit, so 30 to 40,000 degrees Celsius. Comet SL9 left dark ringed scars, but these were eventually erased by Jupiter's winds, so they didn't last very long. From this, we were able to gain new insight into Jupiter, into Comet SL9, and cosmic collisions in general. Scientists were able to deduce the composition and structure of the comet even. Dust was left floating on top of Jupiter's clouds, and by watching it spread across the planet, scientists were able to track high altitude winds on Jupiter for the first time. And by comparing changes in the magnetosphere with changes in the atmosphere after the collision, they were able to study the relationship between those two. That has some very pretty chromatography. Growing up as a kid, my family's favorite movie genre were disaster movies, like end of the world disaster movies, or even disaster movies affecting smaller areas, but we loved disaster movies. And reading about Shoemaker-Levy 9, SL9, made me think of the 1998 movie Deep Impact, and we loved that movie as a family. I loved that movie as a very young teen. And I think I even remember a part in the movie where Elijah Wood's character, as he's like looking through the telescopes with Lily Sobieski's character, they don't recognize what the comet is that's heading towards Earth. And somebody makes a reference, I think, to a Shoemaker-Levy comet. So I wonder if they were referencing SL9. So this ink made me think about that very specific time in my childhood, in my teenhood, and how much I enjoyed that movie as a kid, along with my family. So that was one of our weird, maybe not super weird, but still one of our family traditions, family things that we did. We watched disaster movies all together. So if you have a favorite disaster movie, let me know. Our absolute favorite family disaster movie was Dante's Peak. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. It had Linda Hamilton in it and Pierce Brosnan. A volcano explodes and they have to escape, and there's, you know, lava everywhere. The lakes turn to sulfur. Bad things happen. I think it came out at the same time as the Tommy Lee Jones movie Volcano, around that same time. But it was filmed partly in Wallace, Idaho, which every time we drive back and forth from Montana to Washington or Washington to Montana, I always get such a kick out of going through Wallace, Idaho because of Dante's Peak. So, fun, useless facts. Scientists have calculated that the comet was originally about 0.9 to 1.2 miles, or 1.5 to 2 kilometers, wide. If a similar sized object were to hit Earth, it would be devastating. The impact might send dust and debris into the sky, creating a haze that would cool the atmosphere and absorb sunlight, enveloping the entire planet in darkness. If the haze lasted long enough, plant life would die, along with the people and animals that depend on it to survive. And that is from NASA. I did always wonder what happened after the ending of Deep Impact, the movie, because it ends with them surviving, at least, you know, the two main characters, the two main young characters, surviving the impact, basically watching it crash into the planet. And it shows them survive, and then that's it. That's the end of the movie. So I would like a follow-up. I want to see what the story writers would do after that final scene. Anyway, I digress. This is a very attractively shading brown. It's not my favorite brown, but I like how the color, it is very Jovian to me. Like, this looks like the rings and the great spot a little bit on Jupiter to me. So that seems to be an appropriate color choice for this ink, for this name. It's very, very readable. It came out of the pen nib really nicely, and yeah, it's nice to look at. There's nothing too exciting going on in it for me, but there's shading, some neat shading here. There's no sheen, there's no sparkle, none of that, but very readable, very nice. On my swatch card again, it looks just very dull and dry just because of the paper that I made these swatch cards out of. So I will be happy to use these up, and I can find some paper that works a little bit better and won't absorb the ink as much. And then the chromatography is really interesting. You can see it kind of goes up into a slight touch of purple, pink, a yellowy orange, and then just a hint of some light blue at the top. And then where I set the Q-tip to rest, it kind of irised out very prettily. And my splat is still drying, but that's how it's looking. Some nice shading, no sheen, no sparkle, but some nice shading. That is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for day 5. Thanks. Bye.